Hello, everybody. My name is Leah Granger, and you're watching Curtain Call, a Instagram live interview series with powerful women in the arts. It's presented by FabCollab and supported by Canadian Heritage. And this week, I'm very excited because we're going to be speaking with somebody I've wanted to connect with for a long time. Hi, Fred. Hello. I want to say hello, Alpha, Bea. Nice to see you. We're going to be speaking with an amazing dancer and an actress. She's a part of the flamenco community in Toronto, but she's also an actor who was known across Canada. Hello again, Alex. Known across Canada and I would say around the world in the 90s. And I was definitely a fan. So she'll be joining us in just a minute. I'm not going to reveal who it is if you weren't here before. But while we're waiting for her to join the room, I'm just going to talk about a few other things that Fab Collab has happening in the next couple months. Okay, so February 10th at the ROM, there's going to be, it's ROM After Dark. Hi, Vanessa. And if you've never been to ROM After Dark, it's like a big party at the ROM. So you go in there at night and like there's like cocktail bars and food and you're wandering around like all the exhibits. And there's also live music. So Fab Club is presenting on the main stage. There she is. I'm going to invite her to join. And we're going to be presenting Lady Son, which is like an amazing Cuban salsa singer, backed by a really cool backing band. So that's happening on February 10th. And there she is.
Oh my goodness. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. We did it.
Can you see me?
I can see you.
Oh, I thank you very much. It's an adventure. So thank you. Oh, there's a wave. Okay.
Nice.
I
Yeah.
can hear you talking. You were doing a great patter while you were waiting me for.
Oh my gosh, so much patter. I had more to say.
Oh,
but,
good.
No, I'll finish later. Well, welcome, Angela. It's so wonderful to finally have you here joining us. I've wanted to hear your story, so this is really cool.
I was so excited to be invited because I think how often do you get to just talk with another creative person about what you're doing? So thank you for joining me, for having me.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. So maybe like, can you, because like, I always ask people sort of about their early lives, their early creative lives. And sometimes they have a lot to say, sometimes it started later, but we all like know that your sort of creative output started at a very young age.
Yeah.
So was it, can you sort of tell us like a little bit about your family and how that all sort of started to get going so young?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you for asking. So I'm seeing some people are joining. Some of my old castmates I see joining, which is exciting. So I grew up in Toronto. I was actually born in Alberta, but my family had moved here from Ireland long, long ago. My parents came, and I'd grown up with a culture of music and song and dance and being involved in theater. And so a lot of my early life was doing, amateur theater and choirs and singing and dance with my family. And our older sister had joined this George Brown College theater group, and she said, I think you guys should really get into it. We're like, oh yeah, whatever. And in middle school, we were invited to, my sister and I were invited to audition for a then just starting grassroots television series called Degrassi Junior High and Degrassi High. And the way it came about very organically, the way they auditioned kids were going around schools.
Really?
Unknowns to come in and audition. And we
Wow.
were, yeah. And it's,
that's crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy. And the way actually my sister and I were invited to audition, because I wasn't following any of that, we had been on a school field trip, and they had this open mic night singing, and so I got up and sang. Not
Nice.
a singer, but I got up, and it was great because we knew show tunes because of our older sister.
Nice.
And then one of the teachers that were on the trip said, I think you should audition for this. So it was Yeah, and it just unfolded from there. So I think what I really appreciated about that experience, because well, you know yourself, you've started off a lot of projects. You never know
Mhm.
when you plant that seed where it is going to go, right?
Mhm.
And we were all coming in like really bright-eyed. When I think about who, like the producers, the creative people, director, all the crew were only in their 20s, and we were 12
Really?
and 13 years old. Yeah. So talk about really having like nerve. So yeah, so that was I think I was doing that from 12 to 17.
That's so great. So like,
Yeah.
were you always kind of just like ballsy?
You know, yeah, maybe.
This sounds like you're like, and I just got up on the open mic and I sang away.
I sang show tunes, which sounds like an episode of Glee or something like that. You know what I think was very helpful is, and for people who don't know, I have a twin sister. And
Mhm.
we had each other's back, and I would be like the one to launch myself, and she'd always like, oh, okay, I'll go too, because she couldn't just be out there by
Yeah.
myself. And to this day, if I'm somewhere and they look for audience participation, I will join in, not because I want to be on stage, but because I'm like, oh, I feel so sorry for them. They're looking for people. Oh, okay, well, I'll do it. So, I have to support. So that is really where it started. And I have to say that gave a lot of um, opportunity to launch yourself. So you're talking about
Mhm.
ballsy or whatever. I think some of it, there was no choice. You just had to. And that,
Right.
you know, it's, yeah, it was a lot of fun. A lot
So
of
were
fun.
you sort of like learn like I guess you had a theatrical background
Uh-huh.
a bit and you were a kid,
Yeah.
but then like were you learning like as you were doing it? Like you'd never been on television, I
Yeah.
assume
I never.
before that. Yeah. And then it started to pick up steam and be this thing that people actually watch. Like what was that like for you?
Well, it was like kind of a runaway train, and it was a learning experience. So like they were very, I am, first of all, I'm really grateful that social media was not around at that time. But while we were finding our,
Yeah.
and we all brought different, like the cast all brought different experiences. Some were more experienced than others. Some were natural. Like I look back at some of the old episodes, I'm thinking, oh my God, how did I have a job? Like I have the emotion of a cabbage. I was just looking at it, but they were really great because they brought in theater people to help us like do workshops, a lot of improv, and really have to respond in the moment. Um, and yeah, it was, you learned as you went. And I think what was really important about it is there's a lot of dialogue around the work we were doing prior to actually filming. We would workshop scripts, and they were very honest about wanting input from kids. Like the writers were young, but they still weren't our age. So they bring us
Right.
like, do you think this would happen? Would this not happen? So we did have a lot of,
That's so cool.
yeah.
And it probably really lent itself to like the realness of it.
Yeah.
Like the fact that it really spoke to people and to kids.
Yeah. And also, I mean, some of the things were based on things that we did. Or
Was there like anything in particular? Was there anything that was based on something you did?
me personally, you know what? What we might have done things ourselves and then ended up having another character live it out.
Right.
So like, yeah, I remember having a party at my house and all the cast came over, and you're like 15. So those are the days that you could stay up all night and then go to set and still look like fresh like a daisy.
Yeah.
But producers found out and they're all like, oh, what do you do? We all got in trouble. It was like being in a camp and all those things. But that ended up happening to another character on the show. So
Oh my God. So you
yeah.
were just like partying with a bunch of 15-year-olds. But I guess you were 15.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
Yeah. And you know what was really good? I think, and you're getting me to reflect on something. We always had voice, and we're invited by caring adults to have voice. So even though they were running the show, it was a very collaborative effort, and I think that has carried over to other parts of my life, like dance, or I'm very open to collaboration. I like having a director or being the director if there is no other director, but
Mhm.
yeah, I always think people are better when they're working together, and it makes it yeah. Yeah, and I got to do
Wow.
that, and it gave me an income that I can go and do things. I could go and do things that maybe I wouldn't have been doing as a kid. So I got to travel a lot, exposed to different forms of music and dance. That it
Mhm.
was really free. Yeah, and having a peer group that could go with me. So
Wow. Yeah, that must have been amazing. And was it like, did you have to deal with any sort of like celebrity? Was it like that at all?
yeah, you know what's funny? It comes up at different times. I mean, obviously it's a long time since then. But when we were
Yeah, yeah.
teenagers, we'd be going out and sneaking into like comedy clubs. You know, we weren't doing anything, but then someone would start doing like a set, and they might say, "Oh, something about the kids from Degrassi," and we're there like, "Oh my God, did they see us?" Like, and they hadn't. It was just part of the set. It was, and you know, and people,
Oh, amazing.
it is always a risk putting yourself out there, right?
Mhm.
And that was in the 80s and 90s, and I do think people are more. Um, I think people. It was more unusual to see people in living their daily lives. Like now, everything is on Instagram.
Yeah,
Everything's,
true.
you have a window into people's lives. So when people would see you on the street, they would come over and talk to you, and they'd be really excited, and they thought they knew you, and they really didn't. So they'd be
Yeah.
telling you some of their experiences, and you just listen. Like, it was good to be a listening ear, but I really hadn't had that experience. So I did, like, I learned a lot. Yeah, and you think about child actors and some of the
Mhm.
experiences that you hear about, and that I think for our core group, because I know they went on to a different series, we were
Mhm.
still treated as teenagers. We were
Yeah, that's good.
teenagers, so we got to be teenagers, and it was yeah, it was good. It was a really positive experience for me.
That's
Yeah.
so amazing to hear. And what happened? So it ended kind of like, was it when you finished high school? Did those things
Yes,
kind of go together?
we had all graduated, and we were reaching age because they wanted, and the whole premise was they wanted actors that were actually the age of the characters they were playing.
Yeah, which is rare.
Yes, yeah, which is really rare because you look at things and think, oh yeah, no way. And the
Yeah.
way it came out, like they did have a movie,
Mhm.
and they brought in different characters, and I think I did a bit part because my character had moved away to the Dominican Republic or something like
Oh,
that.
nice.
Yes, which actually really I was in South America traveling. So I
Okay.
shot, and that's where I went. And I was ready at that point. I think it's funny when you do things as a kid, you take it for granted, and it's just always going to be there. So I was like, oh yeah, I want to get away from it all. And now as an adult, I think if you tried to get into that industry now, you realize, oh wow, it's way more challenging
Right. But you were just in it
business,
day
yeah,
one.
than what I experienced. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was good.
And then, and so how did you sort of transition into dance?
Yes. So I had always, it was a pretty natural tradition, transition, but we had all, like I studied classical ballet when I was growing up, uh, which I kind of let go when I was doing Degrassi because that was a pretty full
Yeah.
schedule, but I still loved dancing. And I traveled to Latin America, and I'd gone salsa dancing and just a lot of dance and partner dance.
Like social
Yes,
dance.
social dance.
Mhm.
Some in Ecuador, I did Afro Ecuadorian
Oh,
dance.
cool.
That was really cool, um, with a dance group there. And then I had traveled to Germany with my sister, and we saw a flamenco show. And that was like the year the Gypsy Kings really hit, and everywhere you went,
Right.
there, that, and we went to see a show, and it was a Spanish company, and it was in Stuttgart, and it was like the fashion capital at the time, and it was this
Okay.
amazing show. It was an amazing, and I can't say that I remember what I saw, but the impact of it and the feeling, I was like, oh, I'm going to do that one day. I want to study that one day. And I came back, and then I traveled again, and I came back, and it was still like, I was still 19. And that was too late to enroll in university. So let's see. There at the time, Now magazine, the ads in the back ran a lot of dance ad, and it said Academy of Spanish Dance, Flamenco. That was the A. So I said, oh, I'm going to go there. And
I love that you was from Now magazine. You know, my family was like part of the people that started that. My aunt, her friends, yes. She was like the first the founding like photo editor, and that's a whole other story. Like that time around that magazine was also so cool. So I love that you found it.
Oh yeah.
The back of that, which also was famous. The back of Now was famous for other things as well.
Oh yes, it was. And, you know, if you were looking in the back, you're kind of like, I don't want anyone seeing me looking in the back. But there's a lot. There was like Middle Eastern dancing and this and that, and I thought, oh, that's flamenco. Oh, that's what I saw in Germany. Yeah, I'm gonna go do that. Because I remember, I remembered that the female dancer was so powerful, so present. And because I've been doing a lot of social dancing, which I still love, but it is you are partnering. And I know it's different now, and you know, it's sort of very gender fluid and anyone can dance. But at the time when I was starting, it was very much man-woman partnership, and you were kind of responding to your partner, and they were directing what you're doing. But I was finding that in flamenco, wow, you're responding to the music, and it's about how the music makes you feel, and that was really a really good way to do it. Yeah.
I remember the first time I saw flamenco live. I was all those things, and then also like observing sort of the range of like emotion that she seemed to be like feeling and expressing.
Yes.
Like I was like, wow, this person is like alive. They're really like doing it.
Great. Like I think so. Yeah. I think so much like in many different kinds of dance, you can be very expressive, but depending on the form, you are like, because I came from classical dance, you're portraying a character. And I was looking like that woman is completely herself. And it was really, and I certainly, when I started taking the class, I had no idea where I was going to go with it. I really had no thought beyond. I really just want to dance and enjoy the music. And at that time, it was very much built on a flamenco in Toronto, and I don't like, this was so long ago, I must say, like it was so long ago. It was built more around a company system rather than individual performers. And at the time I had started with sort of one of the queen bees of flamenco in Toronto, and I mean, there's so many high profile people but who have carried on this amazing tradition and are adding new things and bringing new artists. But at that time, I invited the director of the company, Esmeralda Enrique, invited me to apprentice with the company. And that really gave me I was able to take class every day. I was invited to perform and learn with people who are so further ahead of me on their path. And I think that's a great way to learn.
Totally.
You always should be with people who, at least one person who knows more than you do, for growth, and to not be terrified. Like, I've also had some scary performance where it was like, it wasn't a great experience. So this was a fantastic experience. Artists were here already. Artists were coming from Spain, and you got to be in it and see how they worked and just listen, and it was magical. So and that took off in a whole different direction. I really feel lucky. Yeah.
It's interesting, like the company experience, like that's like an experience that I've never really had. I've always kind of just been like, I'm doing my own thing and like charge ahead, and like it's like I'm a solo artist. But I do think it would be so cool to
be able to watch like other people work.
Yeah.
Like to see other people like create or direct or that kind of thing would be so valuable and like such a great way to learn.
And you know, because I think when you like you were, it is your own personality, it is your own expression, but you still are helping share someone else's vision, and you bring your own part, but it is someone else's vision when you're working under somebody else's as a hired dancer, so that there is a little less risk involved, so you have the opportunity to really develop your own skill set, but it's not all on your shoulders. And so there is a freedom within that. And that it kind of loops back to my Degrassi days, because there are discussions and their input. Well, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? And it was a collaborative experience with a director, and I think that was very comfortable for me. Like I stayed in a company experience for like 20 years, so it's not and had lots of solo opportunities to do things, but it is a safe space, because you're not making opportunities for yourself. And if I can sort of turn it around to the community, that you are definitely one of the driving forces in creating your own things, bringing other artists forward. I was like, oh wait, you can do that? Like I do remember, just because it was so, I'm not going to say it was separate, but it was different. I was like, oh wow, like look what they're doing. Like they didn't, I think for a period of time, and it wasn't intentional, but people waited for that one person who to, okay, do you want to come do this? Want to come do that? Which was different. Like, and I knew, like in the contemporary community, you would see people who are in companies and then they branch off and do their own thing, and it was always so exciting. But I just didn't think that was a possibility, because I always thought of it as being in a theater. And also at that time, we did have fewer musicians and vocalists who were presenting. So at way back, we had to bring in people. We had guitarists here, but we had to bring in like singers from Spain or singers from Montreal. There was one guy who would sing here, and he was amazing, Paco Pedrosa. And like by day, he was a librarian, and by night, he might sing. But he was very much like, I'm going to sing when I want to sing. And he was a beautiful singer, but singing everything the same way every night. I'm not Dean Martin. I remember that. He was saying, I am not Dean Martin. I don't want a microphone. And you can't, and he's right. He's right for flamenco. But when you're presenting also a company show and you have 5 dancers,
you're like, please,
together, and they change. Unless you're psychic, it's going to look like a mess. So that, you know, those were experiences too. But I certainly think the way the community has blossomed now, there's a lot of different people working together. Even if I can interject your La Cueva project.
That was like the idea, kind of.
Yes.
It's like, let's mix up the different companies.
Yes. I know there are people watching. I don't know how much you've plugged La Cueva, but it was such an exciting experience for me to say, can you come and work with these artists? And they're all artists I knew, but I hadn't worked with before. And that was like, oh, wow, this is great. Not in that sense.
Yeah. If people don't know, La Cueva is a flamenco series that myself and some other like people in the flamenco community started, that is like a monthly tablao, sort of where artists perform together without a ton of rehearsal in a really intimate, tiny little space. So you're very close to everybody. It's unamplified, kind of like in Spain. And yeah, like, had you done a lot of that kind of tablao stuff? Like, have you along the way?
You know, it's interesting because I was saying, like, I had some very supported experiences and then not so supported experiences. And the first real tablao show, there used to be a restaurant on College Street called Flamenco, and the owner loved flamenco, and he bring he brought artists from, like, this is going back. But in order to have the artists from Spain performing, they needed a Canadian artist performing with them.
Right.
And then they were holding these auditions, and I was like, oh, well, I'll just go for the experience of the audition. And then nobody else showed up. And me and one other lady, me and one other person, and it was just a different time. Anyway, so they said, well, okay, come and show up, and you're going to dance Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. You know, there's only one on Wednesday and one show on Thursday, but then we have 3 shows the other nights, and you're going to show up. And honestly, Leah, I had not been dancing very long, and it certainly had always been someone set a choreography, and I danced the choreography that was set for me.
Yeah.
So oh my God.
Yeah.
And
that would be terrifying.
Oh, it was terrifying.
And you didn't have like something fully ready to go, like.
Oh, I had sevillatas. It was terrifying. And I had things that I had, like, I did have sequences.
Sure.
And I just thought, well, okay. And I remember talking to Esmeralda, she said, well, you know how to salsa dance. It's like salsa dancing, only flamenco. And I thought, well,
really?
I got what she was saying, though, because I had learned to do it socially. And I think that's why people learn in Spain. Like, you're exposed to it. It's not a big performance. You're at a party, you get up and you dance if you're in that kind of milieu, right? And you have a skill set. And ideally, you start as a kid. So she said, you have material. And I thought, you know what I do? It's dancing to music. It's just dancing to music. And I would talk to myself, it's just dancing to music, just dancing to music. But it was really scary for about 5 months. And it wasn't, I learned so much. I will say that. I learned so much, but there was conflict within the group itself. So the dancers didn't get along with the guitarist and the singer, and I was kind of like, but you have to get along with everybody, and I wasn't used to that kind of conflict. And it's an odd, it was sort of like a little bit at sea, but I stuck with it because I thought, you know, and I remember I used to be so happy on Saturday at like midnight. I was like, oh, I don't have to be back till Wednesday. This is amazing. And when I look back, I was like, why did you do that to yourself? Why? And then I thought, well, because you're learning. And sometimes that's what you have to do. And I did learn so much. And I was able to take that. Yeah. And they were excellent dancers and singers and musicians. And so it was hard to get up every show and know and feel like, oh, you know, they're so much better than me. Because the messages that you tell yourself really inform what you do. And then I thought,
I can really relate to that because that's also how I started, was at Kino Cafe in Vancouver, which doesn't exist anymore.
Yes.
But was like the venue. I think for like a year or 2 years maybe. I danced for a year in Canada. I went and studied in Granada for 6 months, and then I came back, and then I started doing it. And like they were way better than me.
Yeah.
And I was like the sort of like not intern, was apprentice. Yep. So I would do my like solo in the beginning. And then like the good person would do theirs after. And it was like way better. And everybody like loved it way more. And it was just like, like for like years. Yeah. For years. Until I felt kind of good about what I was doing.
But what kept you there? Like what kept you there?
I don't know. I mean, like that was like, to me, that was what flamenco was. Like that was the goal, was to do that, as opposed to, like, I think in Vancouver, there were companies, but also there were teachers that were really just like pushing the like por fiesta and tablao and like just really like the music side of it, like learning how to be like interacting with the music, which is like a solo activity. So then like Kino became like the dream or that sort of style of flamenco, like, to really tabla. So that was like, I was like, that's what I want to do. So yeah, I just like kept at it. But it was definitely hard being with people that I felt were like at a different level than me. Obviously.
And
you just compare yourself.
Were they supportive of you?
Yeah, they were the best. people were really, really great there.
Yeah.
And, you know, there was like occasional like drama, but in general, it was like, I really liked the people.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was like, and I still
Yeah.
do like see them. Yeah.
Keep those relationships, like the people that I was in the company with, that core group of, well, we're the girls, but now I guess we're the women. Like we're all moms now, pretty much. We still see each other. We still stay connected because I think there's something that happens when you're with people that way, when you really are supporting one another, that doesn't leave you, right? And
Somebody, you know, an actor was actually an actor who did a lot of like who does a lot of like theater, like Shakespeare.
Yeah.
And just like she's a very serious actor, she came and saw the show, and she was like, maybe you can relate to this. Well, that in acting they talk a lot about like committing to the role.
Yeah.
And she's like, flamenco, like nobody commits more. Like you have to commit, or you look like an idiot.
Yes.
You're like so committed.
Yeah.
To like the bit or whatever, or like the show, or the performance. You have to like really be in it, and that's like vulnerable. And so like if you're doing that with other people, I think you're like really connecting, and like you really have to be there for each other. That's true.
It's that you want them to ultimately like you want for them what you want for yourself. You want to feel like you are free in your element, and if things go wrong, they're going to adapt and they're going to support you, and you do the same for somebody else. So you really have to tune into people in a way that you don't in day to day. And like, I really feel like I know we don't want to do pandemic talk, but I think that was the biggest thing that I missed when we couldn't do live, was not missing that being with people in that capacity, you know. And I think all artists feel that, but when your form also is not like, it disappears once it's done, unless someone's done it. Like things like television, it's always going to be there,
right?
And if you first run correctly, you're going to do it again, and you're going to edit it, and they're going to put it together so you always have the best moments of that experience for public records, right? But in dance, unless someone's in the audience filming it and then putting it all over, you know, social media, and you're thinking, oh my God, not that. They're like,
not that part.
Oh, I saw this person. You're thinking, no, not that. It's not that. But it's,
I know. I'm always like, and they're like, it was amazing.
Yeah, and they are, and sometimes what you're feeling, like you're just feeling it, and you're enjoying it. I was like, oh, is that what it looked like? Because
I'm like, my face.
Yeah, it's not what it felt like. But I also think at this time, and just this place in my experience, I find the rehearsals, and really
why is that?
I think,
do you think?
Because when you're with a group of your peers, you know that they know what you're doing, right? They know your discipline, and like I want to do a good job for my peers, in a way that once you're in performance, like anybody could be in the audience. And I just let that go and say, well, the other work is done now. There's nothing I can do about this but enjoy it. And even with the nerves, there are always those magical moments that you don't practice for. They just come.
Totally.
Yeah, and you can live for that part, you know? Yeah.
It's funny, like I'm thinking about it now, I'm just like even realizing it now, is that I feel like the rehearsal is like the best thing in the world. Like, because I feel like I'm by myself all the time, working on stuff and creating, and I find that really kind of like hard and a bit boring, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I like force myself to do it, and then it's like when you're like hearing it with the music for the first time, and I love like thinking about the music, and I love like seeing how it all fits together, and like thinking about it with musicians. And I don't know, I love that. I love the musicality of flamenco. So like doing it in a vacuum all the time with like a click track is like, ugh. And then finally when you're like with them, I'm like, I love working through it all.
Yeah.
You know what? I just had an aha moment. This is great.
Tell me.
I'm gonna like start thinking about how I work. Needs to be musicians that are more like me. But yeah, and performing I find like a bit harder actually. Yeah. But I love it. I love it all. I mean, we love it all, right? Otherwise, why would we be doing it?
Yeah. They all have their different gifts,
right?
Yeah. You know what? Maybe I'm going to backtrack a little bit because they're different. Yes, I'm going to backtrack a little bit because when it's a rehearsal where you're supposed to have your piece prepared, and okay, like a La Cueva performance, for example.
Yeah, that's
tough. You're coming in. This
a lot
is
of pressure.
my piece, and I'm going to show you this, and this is, this is what I'm doing, and that's all. Yes, I find that rehearsal process is different to the creation process.
Yeah.
So. Maybe your part of your rehearsal is also the creation process. I'm seeing it as a separate thing because I love talking to people about what we're doing. And let's try this, that. It's what I have to show up with, like,
you're like,
ready?
You have an hour.
Like, it blew, like, my aha moment came along.
It was very stressful when you're like, okay, now I'm going to do the footwork, and then you kind of like can't do it.
Yeah.
You realize, like with the music. And you're like, no, let me try again. And everyone's like, okay.
Yeah. I know this fits.
It's stressful.
Maybe not the way I'm doing it right now. I'll come back to it. Okay. Or you look, or I'll start doing something, and I know there are people within the community. I'll look at them and I'll say, what did I do? Like, what did I just do? Tell me what I just did. Because it worked so well. And that, I think that's what it is. That's what happens in performance. That I can't second guess myself or figure out if it fits or how it works. You just have to go with it. And I know, like, if I hear myself in performance where there are times when I feel myself in performance, like, you can feel the music wrapping around you or the singing or the palmas, I'm there. When I suddenly hear my feet in relationship to like the music that they're playing, that's when I get thrown.
Right. It's like being in your own head while you're talking.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like listening to yourself talk, and then you're like, what am I saying? What do I sound like?
Yeah. Yes, that's what it is. You get out of the performance and you get in your head. And you're just, okay, get back. Gratitude. You're here. You're enjoying. You're here. Like, you're here with all these people sharing something that you love to do. Like, this is such a gift. Okay, get back into that. And in rehearsals, I can get into my head. Not in the creative process in a good way. Sometimes, not when I'm watching other people. I love being a part of other people's rehearsals. But
that's amazing.
Yeah, because I love seeing what other people are doing and bringing, and then it's like, okay, I have to get, now it's my turn. And once you get going, it's a lot of fun. It's true. And then when you're working with people that you've worked with for a long time, and that I do really appreciate that. It's kind of that's been the story of my creative life, I think, is always like that collaborative feeling and the sharing. Like, it is such a gift being able to do so, and it is so, like, I know mindfulness and it's always been a buzzword, but I think that is the most mindful time for me, because there's no space in your head, like with all the stresses of every day, and like, I am a mom, I have 3 kids, I have a full-time job, so I really have to, it's a lot. It's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot. And I do, like, I teach school and I teach dance and working on different projects with people. You really are tied to a schedule, and then suddenly you're not, and it's the best feeling. It takes whatever was stressing you, and it's gone for that moment of time.
Yeah, totally.
It's very helpful. Yeah.
Actually, I remember something else I wanted to ask you was that, like, your children are now also acting.
Yeah.
How did that happen? Did you force them to do it?
No. I just go out there, make a paycheck. No. And it's funny. It's a bit like my experience, in the sense that it was somebody that I knew. So they have the most fabulous agent. Her name is Jackie Ritter. She's with Ritter Talent, and she is a gem because she really cares about the well-being of the kids, right? The children on the roster. And my boys, so I have three, and never thought of doing anything like that, because I knew when I'd done some acting later in life that I suddenly saw the business side, and I'm like, wow, you really have to get out there and promote yourself and a certain way. And I don't know about that. I don't know what that experience would be like for a kid. So if they express that they want to do it, yes. But if they don't, then I'm not going to pursue it. And then this friend, she goes to axe throwing with my husband. So that's axe throw together. And she's saying, oh, yeah. And they were looking for children for a commercial. And she said jokingly, do I know any wild kids that could like tear apart a room? Because that's really what the commercial was. I said, oh, yeah, you do. My two boys. And she said, okay, sure, I'll send them in. And they booked it. And it was like an international commercial. It was a big commercial. And they booked it. And then one in particular keeps on booking gigs. And it just went from there. And it's been a fun experience for them.
That's great.
Yeah, mostly. And they've booked a few things together. And I'm so excited for them for that. Because like my sister.
I saw one of them. They're in a car or something. I can't remember.
And that was a surprise. So like the commercial.
Okay, you didn't know.
And it was World Cup, and suddenly my mom said, I just saw your kids. And I was like, whoa, I don't have cable. I gotta come to your house. And there they were. And it's so funny because like when I was on Degrassi, we got to go to all the award shows. And I mean, I was nominated for what at the time was a Gemini Award for Best Leading Actress. And I was like, oh yeah, whatever. That's fun. I'm going to the party. Like maybe we can see Mr. T. That's what was so exciting at the time, because that's how long
that would be exciting.
And I didn't think that much of it because I was living it. And then when I saw my voice on television, I'm like, oh my God, I saw my voice on television for like 10 seconds and in the back of a car, but it didn't. It's because it was them. And like they've done roles and they've had dramatic roles and hard roles. And it's I have to remember, I'm really glad that my family never pushed me. If you want to do it, you do it. And I support you 100%, but I'm not going to push you. And I remember a couple of times, my youngest one was asked, he was booking a lot of stuff, and they'd asked him to audition for some series where he was supposed to be a kid, someone's child, and their marriage was falling apart. The actors were. And I was really trying to convince him to do it. And I feel like such a bad mom. But you know what? People need to know that we can be bad moms. So I felt like, and I was saying, come on, you can do it. And then he said to our agent, I don't want to do it because I already have a mummy. And then she said to me, you know what, Angela, he's not doing it. Like there are other opportunities. And I was like, oh my God, you're so right. And I don't know, like,
what a good agent.
It was my bad mom moment. And that's why I'm really grateful that I also had people around me that are like, no, well-being is paramount. And I was like, yeah, I know, you're totally right. Yeah. So
but,
you've been a bad mom.
It sounds like you had a healthy experience.
Yeah, we really did.
Yeah.
I would be, because we got to be kids.
Yeah.
We got to be, like, it was things like, because it was a non-union set. So Degrassi turned into a union set later. But with a non-union set, there was things like, okay, get out of the van. They drive us all there. Okay, everybody pick up a sandbag and carry it upstairs. Right. Okay, who wants to be king and queen garbage? Like, who's going to help clean up our green room, which was like a public library? And I know, like, taking my boys to set, okay, well, this child, because they have 15 seconds on camera, gets their own trailer. But you guys all get to go sit at that big table over there. Okay, you get catered and you get this. And there's a real divide, which is not cool, But they fortunately, that hasn't been their experience. So it's been a good experience for them.
Well, that's wonderful.
Yeah,
that's so great.
Lucky. Yeah.
Can you tell us before we go, because I know we've been chatting for quite a little while, the time has flown. Yeah. Can you tell us, I know you have some stuff coming up. You have people can see you dance. Yeah. So what's on the horizon?
There's you know what, I really should plug, because I'm doing a show. I'm part of the first Tableau Toronto Flamenco show of January, I think. And it's happening tomorrow at 647 College Street at the Boombox. And it's
Is that a new venue for the event?
it is a new venue. So
Cool.
home of Toronto Tableau for a long time was more in the east end of Toronto, and now the director Kyo Asaoka is moving more to the west end, where we're seeing a lot of flamenco. Some amazing artists are appearing. 2 singers, Tamara Lana Page and Sharlita Pili La Pili are going to be singing, bringing their beautiful voices. Yeah. Oh, hey. Oh, yeah. There you are. And so super excited to be finally performing and hearing their beautiful voices again. Matt Selleck, who's a beautiful guitar.
That's going to be really great. I'm going to go.
We got to go.
Is that this Sunday?
No, it's tomorrow. It's tomorrow at 6:30 p.m.
Oh, it's Saturday.
Yes.
Okay, fantastic.
Tomorrow, Saturday,
Wonderful.
6:30 p.m. at Boombox. And then I do have something in the works for March that I will share a little bit later. I'll finally get, now that you've taught me how to get on Instagram, there you go.
Yes.
But yeah, the show tomorrow night. And so 2 dancers, myself and Kyo, and 2 singers, beautiful singers, and a guitarist, and hopefully lots of faces in the crowd, new faces, and our favorite faces. So
nice.
Yeah,
those events, the Kyo puts on a great show. So
it really does. No, 6:30. It is an early start, so if you already have plans for Saturday night, come see us.
I do, so maybe I could actually do both.
First, it's at 6:30 p.m. So you can come. We're out by 8:30 latest, and there's going to be I think it's catered, so you can also have some Spanish tapas.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So come, and then go out
Wonderful.
and do your wonderful events. And I know you have your Cueva stuff coming up too. So
we have a Cueva coming up on
February 5th.
February 5th. Thank you.
Yeah, I go all of them because they're just wow. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this is so bad. I'm like, Shirley, who's performing in February? We've got Kim Macedo. We've got George from an amazing singer from Montreal. We've got Cara coming in from Montreal as a fabulous dancer who's actually from Vancouver, who like me, so I knew her from there. Now she's in Montreal. Nice. And who else?
Tamara's also singing and dancing.
Tamara's going to sing, and I feel like, is it just 2 dancers or 3? 2 percussion. What else is happening? I can't remember. Matt Selleck.
Yes.
There we go.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Oh, amazing. So it's not at both. So that's fantastic.
Yes. Yeah. So you can catch them at Toronto Tableau, and then move
tomorrow's
on
hosting,
to
right?
Tomorrow's hosting, and then move on to Cueva, because there's a lot of flamenco in Toronto.
Yeah.
A lot. It's great.
Amazing.
Oh, in Ontario, really. So.
And Canada. If we want to go more
Canada, you're right. All across, we're really, really lucky. We're really lucky. So,
yeah.
Well, Angela, thank you so much for joining us. This has been a real pleasure, and I feel like I learned a lot about you. It's really cool.
Oh, I want to turn it around, but we'll have to do that over a glass of wine and hear all about
perhaps
your experience
tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh yeah, well I'll be there. And also thank you for your patience as that started off, and
so good. Always happens almost every time.
Yeah. That's always, it wouldn't be flamenco if there wasn't a moment.
Exactly.
I loved it. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. And everybody head to the show tomorrow.
Yes, please do. It's going to be a lot of fun. So new and old. So yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Bye.